What is going on, YouTube? It is Clean Shaven Prim here, and today I am going to be bringing you another BT10 deck list. Today we're going to be going over DarkKnightmon, a deck that has gotten some pretty decent support in the past, but still hasn't really been able to push that viable mark. But going into BT10, it gets a lot of support and ones that really help it become a real archetype that can actually compete in the metagame. And so I have this list here for you all, for if you want to test this list and maybe make some changes yourself. But I think this is going to be a very strong base to the list, so let's go ahead and start getting on into it. Alright, so getting on into it, we're going to start with the Digitama, of course. So we have the 4 Pagumon. It's just to get the reveal and potentially add a card to your hand. There's not a lot of options and Tamers in this list, so you do get to hit this pretty consistently, so I just find it as a really good cycle source. But I do want a 5th Digitama just for slower matchups, so we're going with the BT10 Monimon as the last Digitama. It does give you plus 1k if you have Twilight in your traits. Now, not all of the cards in here are going to have Twilight because it doesn't give the past cards Twilight, so some of the older cards aren't going to get boosted by this, but the all turns effect to be able to have plus 1 KDP I still think is worth it enough, and I don't really think there's a lot of other Digimon that are going to be great. You could maybe play the Pagumon that you get plus 2k if you have a Digimon with the same name, but I think it's going to be a little bit more conditional because you don't really build up the stack as much as you kind of hard play and digicross stuff. So the Monimon, I think it's just 5 eggs, so that way when you go through your 4th egg, you can get that extra cycle and that extra promote to get that extra aggression. Alright, now getting on into the rookies, we are just going to start off with 4 of the BT10 Monitamon. This card, you get to reveal the top 4, and you get to add 2 cards that either have Nightmon or Deadly Axemon in their name, or Twilight in their trait. So the new cards do have Twilight in their traits, the older ones won't, so you don't get that off the Twilight part, but it still has Deadly Axemon or Nightmon, so the fact is you can pretty much hit 2 cards off of this almost every single time, so it's just a very good cycle card. Then we're also playing BT7 Monitamon as a 3 of, just for more search. Reveal top 3, grab a Digimon with Nightmon in its name, or 1 Deadly Axemon, and then place the remaining cards at the bottom. So not as good as the BT10 Monitamon, but it is still going to be able to give you some search, and so there isn't a lot of crazy rookies that you want to play in this build, so I just kind of wanted to go for more consistency. There is a lot of cards in here that are going to allow you to search, and so I just kind of wanted to keep the level of cards that search as high as possible. And then to finish off the rookies, we are going to be playing 3 Chikurimon from the new starter decks. Players can't reduce play costs, so this is going to be very good versus Digicross decks and things like Blue Flare, Cross Hearts. Now, obviously, this can hurt you because you have your own Digicross cards. However, I haven't really seen that being an issue. This card is just very strong versus other decks, so usually you can just swing this in, it'll go down, and then you can get your Digicross going. So I haven't really found it to be a downside, and it has a huge upside, so really like Chikurimon to round off the rookies. Next up, getting on into the champions, we'll start off with 4 of Skull Knightmon Mighty Axe Mode. So this card is nice because it's also treated as Skull Knightmon and Deadly Axemon. And then you get to reveal the top 3. You get to either add a Nightmon in name, a Deadly Axemon, or the new Tamer Nene. And then you are actually going to trash the rest of them, so that is something to keep in mind. This isn't a bottom deck the rest, it is a trash the rest, which can come up because of having Nightmons in your trash is a big thing. And then another big thing about this is it does have Digicross -1 with Skull Knightmon and Deadly Axemon, so you can on-play this for 2, which is a lot of value because you'll be able to search on-play, and then it has, if you Digicross 2 cards, you get to delete a Digimon with play cost of 4 or less. So this card is just very strong and really helps the speed of the deck. Next up, we got 4 Skull Knightmon from BT7, and this one I think is very important. The when attacking pretty much is never going to happen, and I don't think you should really see this as a when attacking card. You should see this as a Skull Knightmon source to be able to go for your Digicross. That's going to give you security attack +1 if you have Nightmon or Baggermon in your name, and so this is just going to be very good aggression, especially when we pair this with one of our other champions, which is going to be Skull Knightmon Cavalier Mode, which can Digivolve on top of a level 4 for 1. When Digivolving, you're going to gain jamming and blocker until the end of your opponent's next turn, so that means you can, since you have Nightmon in your name, you can Digivolve for 1 on top of this Skull Knightmon, and then you're going to have security attack +1 with jamming. So it just gives you really good value. You can Digivolve this in raising, promote up, go into the Cavalier mode, and be able to just get that jamming and swing, and then even later, just your big stacks, being able to swing extra security attack +1. You then survive with your DarkKnightmon X Antibody. Then next turn you can go ahead and do it again. It's just, this helps your aggression so much. This is a very key card, just like how we would really like things like Dora Greymon and Alpha. Next up, we're playing 2 of the BT7 Deadly Axemon. Now, this card is not the greatest. It has on play, you can reveal a top 5 and grab 2 Digimon with Nightmon in their name, but you don't really want to do that too often. I just like it to have the extra consistency of having Deadly Axemon in your hand to be able to go as a source. And the plus 2k DP when you have Nightmon in your name actually does come up quite a bit when you go into DarkKnightmon X Antibody. But the on-play of this card is not very great, and I don't think it has the craziest inheritable. It does come up sometimes, but it is one of those things where I still like this, but I only liked it at 2. I didn't want it at any more than that. And to finish off the champions, the Digimon we kind of talked about a little bit already, which is Skull Knightmon Cavalier mode. It's also treated as Skull Knightmon and Deadly Axemon, and then you gain jamming and blocker when digivolving, so want to be able to get that jamming, swing 2. Nothing really much more to say. This card is just very good for that reason, and the 1 to digivolve on level 4, even if you don't get the security attack plus 1 inheritable, just being able to cycle for 1 is going to be very nice. Alright, next up we're going to go ahead and get on into our ultimates with just a full lineup of DarkKnightmons, but we will start off with the BT10 DarkKnightmon, which is going to be able to digicross -2 with Skull Knightmon and Deadly Axemon. On play, de-digivolve 1 and then delete a Digimon with a play cost of 5 or less. So very good defensive card, being able to play this for 4 and get an effect like that. And then all turns, when this Digimon be deleted, you can add a black Digimon card from its sources to your hand to play out a Deadly Axemon or a Skull Knightmon from its sources without paying its memory cost. And so this is kind of your main DarkKnightmon. You really just want to be getting this one out, turboed out. We are going to have an option that lets you play DarkKnightmons from your trash while digicrossing with it, and so obviously this is going to be our main target. And this card is just kind of the main key. You want to get into this for very cheap and then be able to get up into your DarkKnightmon X Antibody. And then we're going to be playing 3 DarkKnightmon from BT7. This one's not as great because it has an on-play that is like a Digicross effect, but it is before Digicross, so it's still going to cost 7, so it's just very expensive to on-play. You usually kind of want to digivolve this in like raising or whatever you're doing instead of on-playing it just because it's so expensive, but it does have all turns when it's deleted. You get to play a Skull Knightmon Deadly Axemon suspended without paying their memory cost, so it does keep the board kind of wide when you go into it, but the on-play for 7 is kind of rough. Alright, going into DarkKnightmon X Antibody, of course, we're going to be playing 4 of our boss monsters, so does digivolve for 4 from DarkKnightmon, so that is much nicer than the 5. I realized playing this, digivolving for 4 helps fill out memory curves much more than 5. I just wanted to note that that is actually a pretty big deal in this metagame, but when digivolving, return 1 black or purple Digimon other than itself from your trash to your hand. Then, when this Digimon has DarkKnightmon or X Antibody, but in this case DarkKnightmon, you get to delete a Tamer and unsuspend the Digimon. So this is very nice because you can either delete your opponent's Digimon, or with the new Nene Tamer, it has on deletion gain 2 memory, so you could delete your own Tamer just to gain the 2 memory to make it a Digivolve for 2 essentially, which is going to be able to make it so you can keep turn much more often. So it is a nice little combo, but if you do want to pass turn, you can just go ahead and pop your opponent's Tamers, which obviously is very strong because with this deck you can get into multiple DarkKnightmon per game and just be able to keep popping Tamers. And then we do have on deletion, you get to play a DarkKnightmon from your trash without paying its memory cost, and so that is very nice just to get some more aggression going, be able to get those on play effects and be able to kind of set up to go into another DarkKnightmon X next turn. 2 Death Xmon to round off the Digimon. This card is just very good in this metagame, especially with the introduction of Crossheart. And with a deck like this, you can go a little slow because the Tamer, as we're going to talk about, is going to give a lot of our Digimon blocker. So being able to kind of slow the game down if you need to means that Death X is going to get very, very strong. So just want to play this at 2 just to kind of keep that wide board clear while also being able to kind of manage Crossheart a little bit better. For the options, we are playing a pretty small amount, but going to start off with the 3 Pride Memory Boost. This is just, you can play this and be able to play out like a Skull Knightmon or a Deadly Axemon, which is nice, but the delay gain to memory is also very, very nice as well in the early game. So this is just kind of a double whammy card that works very well, and we can see the boys here in the back of the card art, so it is meant to be. Next up, we got 2 Immortal Rulers, so if you have a Nene on play, which is the Tamer we're about to talk about, you can use this without needing the purple color requirements, but you charge the top 3 cards of your deck, then you play 1 DarkKnightmon from your trash, paying its memory cost, but if you play one that would digicross, you can digicross with cards from your trash. So basically, when playing this, we want to be able to go into our BT10 DarkKnightmon, and then be able to digicross from the trash, so you will still play the 4 on play, but this is essentially a DarkKnightmon from from trash that costs 0, and you do have to trash some cards, but I have had situations where playing this has hit that extra or that second Digicross card in trash that I needed to be able to play it for 4 over 6. So the Immortal Ruler is really nice. It's just, it felt clunky at 3, so just cut it down to 2 and haven't really had a problem with it since. Now getting on into the last part of our deck, which is going to be our Tamers. We'll start off with our new BT10 Tamer, Nene, which is going to be on play. You reveal the top 4. You get to add 1 card with Nightmon or Deadly Axemon in its name, or 1 with Twilight in its traits, and then you place the rest at the bottom, which is nice. It's going to be search, but the next 2 effects are kind of what we're going for here. Opponent's turn, all of your Digimon with DarkKnightmon in its name or Twilight and their traits gain blocker, so this gives most of our deck blocker, which is very good defensively, obviously, especially with things like DarkKnightmon X being able to Digivolve, pop a Tamer and unsuspend. This means that you could pass turn, be able to pop something unsuspend, and then Nene can give it blocker, and you'll just have this big blocker. And then on deletion, gain 2 memory. So this is really weird, but like I said before, you can pop this with your own DarkKnightmon X, which is going to gain you the 2 memory to be able to make the Digivolution cost essentially 2. But it also is kind of hate for Black War Greymon if they ever want to go into that situation. It's obviously not going to be optimal to pop this, and so it is a little bit of a punish, but I really like the on deletion gain 2 memory effect on a Tamer. I think on deletion effects on Tamers is very, very unique, and I like that they did something like this. Next up, we're going to just be having 2 Izzy, which is going to be pretty standard. We just need memory tamers because they are so powerful. And I like Izzy as the memory tamer, 1, because you get to reveal the top 3 and rearrange them whatever order you want. So that really helps with kind of finding the pieces that you need. It's a pseudo search card, which, as I talked about in the beginning, I kind of wanted as many search cards as I could. But also, when you reveal those cards, if all 3 of them are black, you get to gain a memory, which means you would play this for essentially 3. And the only card in the deck that we have that is not black is going to be these analog youths. So there's a pretty good chance that you're going to be able to gain the memory, play this for 3. But speaking of analog, this is going to be the card that will round off the list. On play, reveal top 3, add a Digimon card, trash the rest, and then one of your level 5 or higher Digimon with Digivolution sources is deleted. You can suspend this Tamer to gain a memory and hatch a Digi-Egg. So I just like Analog 1 as a search card, as we just mentioned, a way that trashes some of these Nightmons so you can get it off of your option card later, but also it's just if your level 5s go down, you are able to gain extra memory, hatch from a Digi-Egg, and it just really helps the aggression. So I wasn't seeing a lot of lists playing Analog, which I thought was interesting, and I thought this card just kind of fit perfectly, so I put it in here, and it has been very nice. But that is going to be today's list. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, and please let me know down below what you think about the list, what you like, what you don't like, what you would change, because this is a deck that I'm sure will be definitely getting some changes and some modifications as the metagame goes on. But with that being said, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will catch you next time. Peace out.